Welcome to Conservative Viewpoint, where the truth always matters. Your hosts are Charlie the Country Conservative and Brendan Statler from The Brendan Statler Show. Now on with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, patriots and truth seekers, welcome to the Conservative Viewpoint. I'm your host, Charlie, the Country Conservative. And today we dive headfirst deep into the tempest of politics, cultures, and relentless pursuit of liberty. Because you see, my friends, we ourselves find ourselves in contentious ether, a political climate where the winds of division are like a hurricane. Gone are the days of debate, compromise, and sensible legislation. Instead, we are entrenched in our ideology's trenches, blowing our proverbial whistle, charging each other's position, hoping for a political touchdown. But let's pause for a moment and take a breath. Look around, because they say that 49% of the country disagrees with you and me. Left or right, moderate, extreme, doesn't matter. We are a nation of diverse backgrounds, values, perspectives. Some folks see the world through different lenses, but it's more important. It's more than important. It's okay. It's essential. I know what you're thinking, though, that those guys, they have some bad intentions. They ignore facts. They don't listen to the truth. Some might be idiots, but most of them, they are. They're just people with different opinions. So let's stop name calling, tribalism, and demonization. Instead, let's sit down and have a real conversation, an earnest exchange. And what about those that we disagree with? Should we retreat to an echo chamber, congregating with only like-minded people like ourselves? Should we silence the dissenting voices or resort to violence? I don't think so. We should sit down, understand, and engage, bridge the gap, because the truth is we all are in this together, whether you like it or not. So in this podcast, we will dissect the headlines. Yes, we're going to poke some fun absurdities from the liberals, because in the end, it's not about the left or the right. It's about liberty. Liberty knows no parties. So, my friends, we're about to dive deep in to the heart of this matter. So this is the conservative viewpoint, where we're not afraid to ask the tough questions, even if it rustles some people's feathers. So let's get on with the show. Okay, I hope you guys made it through this horrifying eclipse that we had today. And then people were talking about it and saying that it was going to be so bad and things were supposed to happen and all this crap. And just like if you're old enough to understand or to remember Y2K, when the year 2000 came along and the world was going to end and everything, and it was just about a joke. So I hope you guys didn't grow any extra appendages or anything and you made it through okay. So we're going to start off the show, and thank you for tuning in to the world premiere of the Conservative Viewpoint, where we hope to get some more information out to every one of you, especially when in our 5-minute videos we can't do it. And soon my co-host Brendan Statler from the Brendan Statler Show should be coming in. He had some business to take care of before he could get started today, so y'all stuck with me for right now. But we're going to get started off with the Bidens and Joe Biden and everything that they've done and all the corruption that's going on in D.C. and that things don't seem to be getting done. Doesn't seem to be getting taken care of. Nobody's being held accountable. Especially when you have things like the White House met with Hunter Biden's legal team right before he dodged that subpoena. So according to visitor logs, a meeting occurred between the White House, Hunter Biden's legal team, just days before his defiance of congressional subpoena. And that has ignited a concern about potential coordination. Of course, we've all known this, and you know that the White House is not supposed to be involved in any of this, but you know they are. And they've been playing a big role in this from day one. It's getting very tiresome that the Biden crime syndicate family can just sit there and get away with these crimes right out in public. Let me do something real quick here. Sorry about that. And the Republicans aren't doing a thing about it. I'm going to try to get this to shut off here. And they keep letting them do it. And what do they keep doing? They keep holding hearings. And that's what they do every time you turn around. They hold another hearing. So if you guys are paying attention and look at this and see if you guys are fed up with the same thing I am, with the Democrats and Joe Biden getting away with everything, let me know in chat. Not only that, we've got Biden appointed judge eviscerates DOJ over compliance with the House subpoenas. And what I mean by that is the judge told them, U.S. Judge Ann Reyes on Friday sharply criticized the DOJ for instructing its personnel not to comply with the subpoenas from the House Judiciary Committee while pursuing charges against former Donald Trump and his officials, that they were going after them for defying congressional subpoenas. And the Biden administration does the exact same thing. So every time you listen to a Democrat and they're sitting there saying what Trump did, what Republicans did, they are just repeating what they have done. It's no different. And all you have to do is pay attention. You don't even have to have a brain like the liberals out there, because they hear one thing and they just roll with it. They don't even think about they're being wrong. And they pretty much are 90% of the time. So what do you think about how much more can Joe Biden destroy this country by November general election? This is why I tell you about the election being so important. Because of this, I've got to get this up here, get caught up here. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Let me know in chat if you guys think Joe Biden can screw it up, and what do you think he's going to screw up? Between the border and everything else, Biden alone right now, he is protecting these illegal criminals, hoping that he's going to get votes. I'm not going to show that yet. But he won't protect the United States citizens. He wants to talk about the border policy that he put out some months ago, and all they want to keep saying is that the Republicans turned it down. Well, the Republicans turned it down because it had nothing about securing our border. It had them to do with just hiring more CBP agents to process these illegal criminals through faster and getting them onto our streets. Well, that's not something we need. We need to stop the border. We need to shut it down, no matter what it takes. But now, if you haven't heard, that the amount of people that are coming in here, and the majority of them, and they're not even sure exactly how many, are terrorists or on a terrorist watch list or on some kind of criminal database. And they're talking in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions. Now, I got a little clip here from Senator Tom Cotton, and he's warning about a possible terrorist attacks because of, and it started with, Joe Biden's failed policies. And what's his first one here? His failed withdrawal from Afghanistan, allowing ISIS and the Taliban to remain. So I want you to listen to him first on the failed withdrawal from Afghanistan. Listen to this.
We have a lot to unpack there based on just the top of the show here, but let me start with Russia. The New York Times reminds us who ISIS-K is, saying the group got a dramatic second wind soon after the Taliban toppled the Afghan government in 21, and reminds us during the U.S. military withdrawal from the company, that's the group that carried out the suicide bombing at the international airport in Kabul. They killed 13 U.S. troops and as many as 170 civilians. They've continued attacks around the globe. You've served in uniform in Afghanistan. How worried are you about conditions there on the ground that ISIS-K has been able to rebound to this strength?
Well, I'm quite worried, Shannon, as you saw what ISIS from Afghanistan was able to do in Moscow a couple days ago. This is the unfortunate echo of President Biden's chaotic and disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. It's the same group that killed 13 Americans. Just a few days ago at the Armed Services Committee, I asked our commanding general in the Middle East about ISIS's capacity to project attacks from Afghanistan. He said that in as little as 6 months, and it turned out to be closer to 6 days, that ISIS from Afghanistan, with little or no warning, could attack Western interests across Asia and Europe. And that's exactly what we've seen happen. It's deeply regrettable that innocent civilians, women, and children were killed in Moscow, but the next attacks could be against an American embassy in Asia or in Europe, or against, say, students traveling to Europe on a school trip for spring break. Again, this is a very dangerous echo of President Biden's failed withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Now, this is just one of two videos that I've got with him, and showing that these people are coming and have come across the southern border. But Joe Biden has no sense at all, but has no desire to shut this border down because he thinks he's getting votes. These people are not here to be a good part of our society. They are here to cause problems. They are here to rob, steal, cheat, murder, rape, and assault people. And they're getting away with it. So now I'm going to let you listen to him, same Senator Cotton, talk about the possibility of a terror attack because of what's going on. So I want you to listen to this real quick.
So U.S. intelligence had issued warnings publicly and privately about this group and a potential attack in Russia. You sit on Senate Intelligence. How worried are you about an attack like that on our soil?
Well, I am very worried about it. And again, you don't even have to sit on the Intelligence Committee and have classified intelligence. You can just listen to what the commanding general of our force in the Middle East said, that in as little as 6 months, you could have an attack like this. And again, it turned out to be 6 days. He said it might be a little bit longer to project that kind of attack against the American homeland or the Western Hemisphere. But again, we have millions of Americans who live or travel abroad throughout Europe and Asia, embassies, businesses there. So I'm deeply worried that ISIS from Afghanistan will end up targeting Americans sooner rather than later. So what's happened in Moscow obviously is very, very sad for the people there. But we have a duty to protect the American people wherever they are, here in America or around the world. And right now I worry that they're at grave risk.
Yeah, this is coming from a sitting senator in there, and talking about all the problems that we have around here. And it's going to be it's not a win, it's not if, it's a win that we are going to have these attacks. We've heard it from, and I'm no fan of Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI. But when you've got an idiot sitting in the White House, a coward sitting in the White House, and everything that he's done, you've got to expect this. Now, I've got a little clip here. Where's it at here? About a minute 37, I think it says. But it's a sheriff from Ohio, and he's talking about the war or the possible attacks that they have been briefed on from all the alphabet agencies. Now, this is kind of important that he's being directly briefed by the FBI, CIA, all the uppity up there's, the corrupt ones. And I want you to hear what he has to say, because, I mean, this is really important that we pay attention to what's going on around this country and what could go on here soon. Pay attention to what he says. Listen to this.
We were briefed by the FBI director, Wray, the director of the FBI, and several federal agencies. There's 3,300 sheriffs in the United States. The President of the United States refuses to meet with the sheriffs of the 3,300. We have a hierarchy. We have a president. We have a vice president. The President of the United States refuses to meet with the sheriff. He also refuses to meet with the police chiefs of the United States. They have a hierarchy also. He refuses to meet with them to talk about border issues or to talk about crime that's going on because of the border issue. We were also told by Mr. Wray, the FBI director, that there are more red flags going off now than before 9/11. Okay? When I say red flags, meaning people that are here in this country that are wanting to do harm to us. We were also explained we're bombing 2 countries right now. 2 countries. These people do not like us before this started. There's thousands of people here from other countries, 160 different countries. They're here not to be our friends. Some of them are coming because they're wanting to come here to the best country in the world, the way we see it. Some are coming here to do harm to us. And we were told by the FBI director, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
There you go. You heard it straight from the horse's mouth. This is stuff that we have to be aware of because of Joe Biden and his failed policies and his whole failure of a political career. This is what we have to put up with every time we wake up in the mornings, knowing something's going to happen, and it's more so going to happen in big cities, crowded areas, where they could do the most damage, just like they did on 9/11. And this is something we don't want to see happen again, not in our country. This is why I tell you about the election and being so important to get your friends, your family, and your neighbors, everyone out to vote. We can't afford another 4 years of a Democrat rule. We cannot do a Biden regime anymore. He's a total dictator. And if you don't see that, you're an idiot, because it's true. Because if you go back and you look at some of my videos, especially the ones where if the digital dollar goes through, we're totally screwed. Our money will not be our money anymore. It'll be the government's money. They'll do what they want. They'll freeze you out of your account if they see something they don't like. They'll tell you what you're going to spend and what you're not going to spend. Your freedom's gone. So this is why I tell you about, making sure you get out, people out, vote, your friends, your families, your neighbors, text somebody. It doesn't matter. Help them get out to vote if they can't get out to vote, because we cannot afford any more Democrat rule. We got to get them out at the state, local, and federal levels. No matter what happens, it has to be done. All right, we're going to move on to what has been happening since Joe Biden was installed in the White House. Now, because I know he was not duly elected, you can look at him and just say that and see that the man is not competent to run a lemonade stand, let alone a country. And we're just going to talk about the wars that has started under Joe Biden. And you see here, Russia and China both are ready for war. And they're readying for war. And this is stuff that we cannot happen. You got Russia and Ukraine going on. You got Israeli and Hamas, China and Taiwan. Now, with China and Taiwan, and I think I got something maybe, I'll save that for later. But China is strategically placing military-age men in our country. 26,000 plus thousand little Chinamen have been coming in here, military age, and not knowing where they're going, where they're at. They could be on some of the 386,000 plus acres that China has bought around our country, but nobody checks into them. just like the 38,000 children that Joe Biden trafficked around our country, and nobody knows where they're at. And I'm so surprised. Well, I'm not surprised that nobody's asking questions about these children of where they're at. Where did you place 38,000 children by themselves, unaccompanied children? Where did you place these people at in our country? And now they can't find them? I see a problem with that. I don't know about you guys, but I do. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys know where these children are at? Have you heard anybody talking about these children? That's a kind of an important question. Back to this subject here. The amount of acres was 383,948 acres, is what China's bought up. Does anybody go and investigate those acres? What are they building? Who is on those acres? What are they doing on that property? Why do they own these properties? They should have never been sold to our enemy. Now, supposedly, a phone call between Biden and Xi or whatever you say, the head of the president of China, CCP, after he well, let's get back to this first. As far as Taiwan goes, you can tell Joe Biden's a coward and does not stand up to the CCP because U.S. does not support Taiwan's independence, Biden says. U.S. President Joe Biden, fake President Biden, on Saturday said the United States does not support the independence of Taiwan after Taiwanese voters rebuffed China and gave the ruling party a third presidential term. Earlier in the day, Taiwanese ruling Democrat Progressive Party presidential candidate Lai Ching came to power, strongly rejecting Chinese pressure to spurn him, and pledged both to stand up to Beijing and seek talks. And I don't blame him a bit. Joe Biden will not stand up to China or Russia at all. And that is the problem that I have with Joe Biden. Now, after the phone call with Joe Biden and whatever his name is, Chinese sends warplanes, boats around Taiwan following the phone call between them two. Now, you notice there's just another piece of him trying to, or the China, readying for war. And if that happens, you know World War III is about to break out. So I'm going to stop right there for a second and see if Brendan's trying to get in here.
Give me 1 second.
Let me get him a second here, and we'll get him in here. Here he comes.
I'm here.
All right. Nice to see you there, Brendan.
Thanks. Sorry, everyone. I double booked a little bit today. Had to get taxes done. Just got finished up, so that's why I'm in the car right now, not in my regular studio. Trying to avoid the sun somehow, but it's not going too well.
It looks good.
Thanks. At least from the side, my face looks good.
Now, I'm going to finish out here. Joe Biden is a dirtball as far as when it comes to China, Russia. He does not stand up to them at all. Now, I want you to listen to John Kirby's answer to Taiwan. We've always been with Taiwan since World War II. They pretty much have had Taiwan's back up until this president. But I want you to listen to this idiot, John Kirby, for the press secretary or whatever he is in there. So listen to what he had to say about Taiwan.
Xi reportedly told President Biden during their summit in San Francisco that Beijing plans to reunify Taiwan with mainland China. Did the Chinese leader bring up similar sentiment in their call the other day? And if so, what was President Biden's response?
I would certainly Taiwan came up in the context of the call. There's not a single discussion that we don't have with senior leaders in the PRC where we don't talk about Taiwan. Of course, it came up. I won't characterize President Xi's comments, but I can tell you that President Biden was very, very clear that nothing's changed about our one China policy. We don't support independence for Taiwan, but we also don't want to see the status quo changed in a unilateral way, and certainly not by force.
Now, you see, this is totally different than what they've said before and in the past. They've always had them. So why do we have military people over there if we do not support Taiwan?
Yeah, it seems like it's all just for show, like, you know, and what I think it is, it's that the Biden regime wants to fund both ends of a war. I mean, you see what they're doing with Israel and Hamas, what they've done with Russia and Ukraine. They want to play both sides of a war because they're capitalizing off it financially. War generates money. That's all there is to it. So they want to play both ends of the war and fund both ends of the war because it's more profit.
No, most definitely. You're right there. But, you know, Chinese has sent at least 30 planes, 9 ships in the Taiwanese air defense in their area. And they're not messing around. They are sending almost all their military over there. And when they attack, it's going to be bad. But just to go on through, I believe that we're already in World War III because of Biden already promising our military over in Ukraine if Ukraine starts having troubles. But he will not secure our borders, and I have a big problem with that.
Right. And we're definitely in World War III, I would say. We're in multiple wars right now. We're right on the cusp of World War III. I would say it's more accurate. The thing that I would say is full blown as far as warfare is we are in the second civil war in this nation. It's a war of information, a war that has not gone kinetic yet, but it certainly has the possibility of doing so. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But you know, you see how divided our country is, that we are at war with each other as a nation right now. And, you know, a nation divided cannot stand, and that's exactly what they intend to happen. They want us to be divided so they can do all this corrupt bullshit, such as fund both ends of a war, as we said earlier, but we're too busy picking fights with each other.
Oh, that's for sure. And Joe Biden's more worried about killing babies in the womb and talking about himself and getting his money for his money laundering operation through Ukraine instead of securing our border, shutting it down, getting these criminals out. Now, I could see if, these people came over here legally and followed the immigration process and wanted to be a productive member of our society. Instead, he lets terrorists in. And this is what we have to worry about. We shouldn't, as Americans, shouldn't have to worry about that. Not in our country. This is not something we should have to worry about. You shouldn't have to worry about walking down the streets of New York and getting punched in the face like these women are getting punched almost every day. You shouldn't have to be worried about being a cop in New York and getting assaulted or murdered on the streets of New York. But if you notice that all these crimes that are going on are in Democrat-run cities.
Yeah, every single one of them. You look at the bluest areas of the blue. You know, you look at Chicago, you look at New York, all these cities where they've defunded police, they've implemented the strictest gun laws. These are the places that are hit the worst with crime and violence. You know, this isn't happening in Republican areas. This isn't happening in Texas or Florida, Montana, Alabama. It's not happening in any of these states. It's happening in California, Chicago, Illinois, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, New York City.
all Democrat-run areas is where all this violent crime is happening.
And this is another reason about this election. We've got to get it shut down. We've got to get our border closed. And the only one that's going to do that is Donald Trump.
I just put Frederick.
We know what he's capable of. We know what he's done. All Joe Biden had to do was come in there and sit down behind the desk at the Oval Office and do nothing. And everything would have been fine. But because a Republican had things under control, had taxes lower, had everything lower, had everything secure, had all the wars stopped, Joe Biden had to come in and put a stop to it and ruin this country. That's what the Democrats know. They only know destruction and violence.
Head east on West 8th Street toward Johnson Avenue, then turn right onto North Meadow Lane.
Sorry. Yeah. Mom had to come get her taxes done too, so she was kind enough to drive back so I could do
Turn
this.
right onto North Meadow Lane, then turn right onto Winter Avenue.
Anyway,
Well, hear your mouth very well.
so anyway,
In 400
what
feet,
were we?
turn left onto
But
West
yeah,
2nd
this
Avenue.
is it all comes from the Trump derangement syndrome. You know, Trump is the one that exposed the deep state, gave everyone a seat at the table, and these people on the left went absolutely nuts, and they reversed every single policy. Joe Biden did it. I was gonna say, do you need that right
No.
Okay, go wherever you need. And Joe Biden reversed every Trump policy just because it was a Trump policy.
Right.
Even though they were good for the nation, he reversed them because they were a Trump policy, and that is why we're in the situation we're in now.
Oh, absolutely. And this is just uncalled for. And we got to put a stop to it, people. No matter what happens, we got to put a stop to it. I'm not telling you that the Republicans are the total answer, but they are. Donald Trump will get us back on track and on the direction that we're supposed to be going on, not in this down spiral with the Democrat Party and Joe Biden. They're just killing this country.
Right,
And
and as you said, it's not just Democrats, it's Republicans too. If you look at what's happening in Nebraska right now, many people may not know that this is going on because many outlets are not reporting on this, including Fox News and Newsmax. There is an ongoing fight in Nebraska right now. Well, let me just put it to you this way real quick. Let me set this up. What if I were to tell you that Nebraska, a red state, could possibly cost Trump the election coming up here? What would you think about that, Charlie?
I would be like totally confused now. What's
Okay.
going on there?
So what Nebraska does, how they run their elections, they do not do it winner take all. They do it by congressional district. There's only one other state in the union that does it this way, and that is Maine. 48 other states are winner take all. So there is an ongoing fight within Nebraska right now trying to make Nebraska winner take all, because there is one congressional vote in Omaha, Nebraska that consistently votes Democrat. Barack Obama's team in 2012 actually referred to it as Obamaha. It consistently goes Democrat. It is a one electoral vote in this congressional district. So I think Nebraska is worth 5 total, if I have that correct. So Donald Trump is most likely to win the state. He would win 4, and Joe Biden would get one electoral vote from Nebraska. So as it stands today, so let's just say that Donald Trump were to flip Georgia red, Arizona red, and Nevada red, and let's assume that Joe Biden were to continue to carry Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. That one congressional vote in Nebraska can make it a 269 to 269 tie, which would then, the results would be taken to Congress, and Congress would decide the winner. However they would do that exactly. It's unprecedented. It's never happened before. And with all the Rhino Republicans retiring recently, we are very close to Hakeem Jeffries becoming Speaker of the House. So Charlie Kirk was actually the one that sounded the alarm on all of this. They've been pressuring senators to make this happen. There are a lot of Republican legislators in Nebraska that are slow walking this effort. What they're trying to do now is have the governor of Nebraska call a special session so they could deal with this right away, because as of right now, Republican legislators are just kicking the can down the road and slow walking this whole process. They say, oh, we'll get to it next year. Well, there is no next year if we don't win this election. So this is something that has to be done right now. So if we have anybody listening in Nebraska, I mean, really anybody can call Governor Jim Pillen in Nebraska and urge him to call a special session to get this done as soon as possible. Because this is a national issue. This is not a state of Nebraska issue anymore.
Oh my God, you better believe that. We can't afford for the Congress to decide who's going to be president of this country.
No, and that's a very real possibility. And I cannot believe, I can't believe there are not many more outlets. Just tell you how big this is, Charlie. Keep the car away. Just tell you how big this is. The very next morning after Charlie Kirk started this on his show, Morning Joe and MSNBC was talking about it. It was the lead story in Politico, the Democrat playbook. Wow. This is how big this is. So this is something that needs to be taken care of, and it needs to be taken care of immediately.
Oh, you better believe that. So anybody out there, if you are from Nebraska, make some phone calls, make some friends, make sure you get out and vote for Trump. You've got to get this up and you've got to fix this before November's general election, because we cannot afford to lose this. We lose this election, we lose this country. You can almost guarantee a lost country if we don't win this election.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very big story, and like I said, virtually nobody is covering it. I try, but the one good thing is, apparently the message is getting out, because I tried calling the governor's office in Nebraska today. I could not get through. People were blowing up the phone lines. So, and the governor has voiced support for this, by the way. The governor is all for this. It's the legislators that are slow walking it. So hopefully the governor does call a special session and forces them to debate this and have a vote on this, because this very well could determine the outcome of the election. I'm not saying it's going to, but there's a very real possibility that it could. This is easily Biden's easiest path to victory. If we could get this done, and by the way, there's nothing in the Nebraska state constitution that prohibits something like this. There's no legal obstacles, nothing. They're just trying to get them to do what 48 other states in the union do. So if they can get this done, that's an easy electoral vote for Donald Trump, because Donald Trump's going to easily carry the state of Nebraska. It's just this one portion of Nebraska, Omaha, that consistently goes Democrat and gives the Democrats a free electoral vote.
Yeah, we definitely got to take care of that now, because we have enough problems in this country, along with the economy. And that's something we got to start looking out for too, because the economy is about to go to shit. And we've even got Democrats talking about it. Now we've got Bloomberg. Yeah. You got the idiot. What's her name? Janet Yellen. The U.S. the secretary of she's even saying that we are on an unsustainable path. Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, what happened? What happened to all this being transitory? She was the same one that said inflation was transitory. What happened to that?
Oh, I don't know. But every time she goes somewhere, she says that if she goes out of the country and she tells other countries that the U.S. in great financial shape. No, we're not. We got the BRICS and 40 other countries trying to create their own currency to take over the U.S. dollar. If that happens, we are stunk. Now we got Bloomberg, and I gotta bring this up here if I can find what I did with it. And I deleted the wrong one, but we got Bloomberg. They did 1 million different simulations to show you the U.S. debt and being on the sustainable path that we're on. If this happens, because within 10 years, our debt is going to $54 trillion. The interest payment alone a month is $400 and some billion a month. The U.S. government doesn't even take that much money in on taxes.
Now,
And that is go ahead.
Well, I think the reason interest payments are so high is because they've been refusing to send money to Ukraine, so they're trying to make up that money to send to Ukraine because, you know, they're bought and paid for by the Ukrainian government through blackmail or whatever else the circumstance may be. You know, we got to be able to, it all comes back to funding both ends of a war. You know, that's what it comes down to. The Republicans have been dragging their feet on Ukrainian funding bills, as they should, and really they shouldn't even be dragging their feet. They should be just killed completely. But I think this is their way of making up more money. That's why the Fed always raises interest rates and all this other stuff. And it's also I think another aspect of it is just a punishment of the American people for voting for Donald Trump not only once but twice, because Trump was elected the second time Joe Biden was installed. So I think it's a combination of things, but I think it's, you know, really to send overseas and line their pockets in the end too.
Oh, most definitely is. You know for a fact that it is. But to put this into a good perspective for you, that the interest payments alone is $475 billion. Now that is more than they spend on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and all other mandatory and discretionary spending programs in a month. So that's not, right there alone tells you can't afford alone. That's like you saying you're going to go out and make a $2,000 payment on something a week or a month, let's say a month, but you only make $1,500. That's totally impossible for you to make a $2,000 payment if you only make $1,500 a month. So this is what the government's doing, and this is something that we have to stop. And it's pretty bad when your own Secretary Powell says the same thing. And he said this on live TV, that the U.S. is on an unsustainable fiscal path.
Yeah. And it's just amazing, like I said, because a year ago, the inflation was transitory. And really, just even a few months ago, we were hearing so much about Bidenomics and how great it was. So how are we on a dangerous path? All of a sudden, Jerome Powell was another one that was saying how great the economy was not all that long ago. So how is it that we're on a dangerous path? You know, it makes no sense how these people say one thing and call the other side conspiracy theorists or whatever liberal buzzword they want to use that week. You know what? For saying that the economy's terrible, something we can all see. And then just a few months later, they'll say the same thing that we've been saying all along, that we're on a dangerous path, this is unsustainable, and everything else that should be obvious to everybody.
Absolutely. Now, if the economy was so good, why won't they lower interest rates back down?
Right.
But they kept saying on the last interview they had with Jerome Powell, he said he's not going to move interest rates anytime soon. And that makes it for a problem. So I want you to hear out of his own mouth, him say those words about us not being on a dangerous path. Listen to this.
According to the Congressional Budget Office, the federal government will spend an average of $545 billion per year, which was the estimate before rates went up. And these are on interest payments on the $31 trillion of national debt. So that's $545 billion is more than we spend on the Department of Veterans Affairs. So given that the national debt is currently at about 125% of GDP, with the Fed's commitment to tackle inflation, would that be limited by rising interest rates, making the servicing of the national debt even more expensive?
No, absolutely not.
Explain that.
No, we are, we're not in a situation where we need to consider fiscal questions like that. The U.S. is on an unsustainable fiscal path, meaning the debt is growing faster than the economy.
Now you heard it for yourself. Now that was back in 2022. We are up to $34 trillion right now. So that makes your interest payments even going higher. So here's another reason why we need to get this election won. And that's why Brendan and I cover all these primary elections that we can, because of the fact that we cannot win without everybody being involved.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Like I said time and time again, I really believe that this is our last opportunity. If this election does not go the way that we need it to, if Trump does not get back in the White House, I think we're completely screwed. We can't take another 4 years of this. There's absolutely no way we can survive another 4 years of this. We'll be lucky to get through this last year, if we're being honest. It's just unbelievable. I mean, we keep, just forget about the fact that we're a joke on the world stage because of this mumbling idiot. We just keep printing money and printing money. My generation can never afford to buy a house. There's no way. And we're talking about canceling student loan debt, which is just going to cripple the middle class. It's just everything this guy does, to play off Trump's words, everything Joe Biden does turns to shit.
And this is what happens to him because he's a failure of a politician. He's definitely a failure of a fake president. The man doesn't know what he's doing. He has the worst economists in the world. He has started wars over wars over wars. And this is what happens when you have Democrats in charge. This is why we have to get people out and get them out to vote, because we can't afford this anymore. It is a problem, and we have to take care of it as soon as possible.
Yeah, this is hands down the most important election in our nation's history. So there's no excuse for not going out and voting. And that, it just makes me angry every time I see. Like, if you go through on Twitter, and I think I mentioned this last time we did this, every Democrat you see on there, all they talk about is abortion. Abortion. Trump issued a statement on abortion either last night or this morning, whatever the case was, saying, what we've been saying all along, that he's not going to ban abortion nationally. He's going to leave it up to the states as it should have been this entire time. He is all for exceptions with rape and incest and life of the mother, which is what, every Democrat politician has been saying too. Those are the arguments they always make. Trump said he's in support of exceptions for that. So how are they still able to run on the abortion narrative? It's just, it's ridiculous. And like I said, if that is your biggest concern after the shit show we've been through the last few years, you're a special kind of stupid. That's the only way to say it.
Yeah, most definitely, because all they want to do is sit there and spin everything around that the Republicans killed Roe v. Wade and they are against your health care and all. Abortion's not health care. I don't care how you spin it, unless it's going to affect a mother's life or the baby's life. It is not health care. And Roe v. Wade does not take away health care from women.
No, and the one thing that people always misunderstand, the job of the Supreme Court is to uphold and defend the Constitution. The Constitution does not say anything in support or opposition to abortion because nobody had abortions when the Constitution was written. That it never happened, so it's not anywhere in the Constitution. The word abortion does not come through in the Constitution at all. So Roe v. Wade should have never passed just for that reason. It should be a state issue, similar to marijuana laws, because the Constitution doesn't say anything about marijuana either, so that's a state issue. That's what abortion should be. The federal government should stay out of it. Roe v. Wade was overturned as it should have been. It should have never passed to begin with. and let people vote on it from state to state, and just leave it where it is. Wherever it falls, that's where it falls.
Exactly right. Now, this just goes on top of, the economy and Joe Biden violating a Supreme Court order and he's paying off student loan debt to all these people. And now, in my opinion, it's all to buy votes, because he is in violation of the Supreme Court order. And so why isn't somebody doing something about that? Who's letting him spend our money? Because he's not paying off somebody's debt. He's just transferring it from the people that should be paying it off to us, the taxpayers.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is too. It's just, as I said before, as many of the people listening know, I'm a college student currently too, and I've said this before. Once I'm done paying my debt, I want to be done. I don't want to be paying for someone else who went to school for gender queer studies or whatever else. I want to be done. And that's the thing. There's no such thing as free money. It comes from somewhere, and it's always the taxpayers. The government's not going to pay for it. You think they're going to loan you money to go to school and they're not going to want that back? They're absolutely going to want that back. It's just going to be paid through taxpayer money. So people that didn't go to school, that didn't have student loan debt, will now have student loan debt, and the people like me that already have student loan debt, we're going to have even more student loan debt. Sorry, I got tied. I know what I meant. It just didn't come out that way.
And you're absolutely right.
But that's what it's going to be. Once I'm done paying my debt off, I want to be done with it. I don't want to be paying for somebody else that went for, whatever else. These people that don't even know what gender they are. I'm not paying for those idiots to go to school. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
No, they need to be in a mental health institution.
Yeah.
But this just goes to show the lawlessness of the Democrat Party and Joe Biden and the Biden crime family. Not only that, you've got people, which is also a crime, thousands of alleged lobbying violations, language at the Justice Department. So you've got another word for bribery, which is lobbying. And you got, I can't remember what it was. I didn't write it down, but they've got hundreds and thousands of alleged lobbying violation cases. And the DOJ, Biden's DOJ, is doing nothing about it. On top of all the others. No kidding. So this just shows the lawlessness of the Democrat Party. And they do it in front of your face. And they do it on live TV. And he's like pretty much spitting in the Supreme Court justice's face and saying, you don't mean shit, because I'm going to do what I want.
Well, the reason they do this now, it's so in your face, is because they know that the media is going to cover for them. You're not going to see CNN or MSNBC or half the time Fox News hold these people accountable for it. They're just going to continue to do what they do, and that's going to be the end of it. Nobody's going to hold these people accountable in the media, so they just do it. It's in your face now.
Oh, that's for sure. And this is what the problem is. And everyone that's been involved in all the persecutions of Donald Trump, all this lawlessness that's going on with the Democrat Party, the attacks with Antifa, Black Lives Matter, every single one of them need held accountable. And that's why this election is so important also.
Yep. Every one of these people involved in this should be going to prison and possibly even charged with treason. People that helped to steal, the people that bailed out Black Lives Matter and Antifa terrorists, Kamala Harris. Every one of these people should be going to prison for the rest of their life, or possibly even charged with treason, and we all know what the punishment for treason is.
Yep, and all the people from January 6th committee, they all need charged immediately. And I know they're running scared because Trump actually come out and said that he will investigate the January 6th fake committee, because we've got the proof that they've falsified evidence. They hid evidence, and nothing's being done about it. That's where I have a problem with that, with the Republicans for not doing anything. They've had 3.5 years to do something.
Absolutely. They should have been doing something about this immediately as soon as they took the House. You know, we've seen a lot of stuff from, just Tucker Carlson alone. Now we're starting to see it from Darren Beattie to expose a lot of stuff with January 6th. It's clear it was a Fed operation. Everybody was set up. I mean, you just saw this week they threw a great-grandmother in prison for praying inside the Capitol. She was in there a total of 10 minutes. Didn't commit a single crime, and she's going to be going to prison for close to a year now. It sounds like these people are political prisoners. You hear the stories of how they're treated in these prisons. It's disgusting. Every one of these people should be pardoned immediately as soon as Donald Trump takes his hand off the Bible. And everyone within the January 6th committee, as well as people within the FBI and CIA that we know were involved in this, should be indicted and facing charges immediately as soon as Donald Trump is sworn in.
Oh, most definitely, because DC Gitmo is a trash hole. And if it was in any other state, that prison would have been closed long ago. I know they had 3 or 4 days where they went without heat in this winter. And that's not acceptable anywhere. But we lost Brendan there.
Nope, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay.
It's absolutely just disgusting to see what has happened here. Oh wait, no, sorry. Stay over here. Sorry, I'm giving mom directions while I'm doing this. Do it a little right. No. Stay over here.
Okay.
Go towards right here. I'm sorry. Right
I
here.
was right, see?
Right there. You got it. Doing a little double duty today, Charlie.
Yeah, I see that. That's it.
Yeah, but it's disgusting seeing how these people at January 6th have been treated. I know people that were there, and the stories they told me even before this stuff started coming out matches everything that you're seeing from Tucker Carlson and Darren Beattie. Everything makes sense. It was a Fed operation. You look at Ray Epps alone. Why is Ray Epps the one person that they did not want to go after, especially the January 6th committee? That was the one person they did not want to go after. Instead, they made it all about Jacob Chansley, the guy with wearing the horns, and they had to have that face be the face of the quote-unquote insurrection. They couldn't have the grandmothers in their praying be the face of the quote-unquote insurrection. That's why they let Jacob Chansley around like they were giving him a tour of the Capitol. It all makes sense when you really start to, look at this critically.
Oh, right. Well, I want to thank everyone. I want to apologize to Twitter or X because for some reason it did not want to connect today when we went live. So we missed out on X viewers today, but I want to thank everyone else for coming in and stopping in for our premiere episode of Conservative Viewpoint. And we will be live again tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Hopefully Brendan will make it there and he'll be home.
I will be there. No, it'll be a lot less hectic than today.
And so he'll be back in his studio. He won't be going live abroad. So,
no.
So I want to thank you for tuning in to the Conservative Viewpoint. But remember one thing, facts don't care about feelings, and we're here to deliver the unvarnished truth. So until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, stay conservative. Thank you for tuning in, and good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for watching.